Bienvenidos amigos and welcome back to another episode of the More Life Diaries podcast. Today we will be touching on a wide variety of topics, including recapping some of our previous episodes and some of the viewers' concerns. We will be talking about our recent experience here, rolling into high season. We will also be talking about the forever ongoing debate, immigrants versus expats, and we will also be going into some future episodes that we're working on about renting short-term, renting long-term, renting Airbnbs versus staying at resorts. So let's get into it. Mic check, mic check. More Life Diaries podcast. Welcome back, beautiful people, and thank you for joining us once again on this lovely fall day here in PV. Just a quick disclosure, this is a podcast. I feel like I need to do this every single time we do a podcast, even though it's in the title. There will be no B-roll or titles or anything like that. It's just us talking about our experience here living in Puerto Vallarta. Beautiful Puerto Vallarta. So we're going to start off with just a quick recap of some previous episodes, some interesting things we want to talk about. Going back to our last episode, which was about Halloween and Dia de los Muertos. One of my favorite episodes that we've done in a while. Unfortunately, it's not doing that well. And me and Kathleen were just laughing that every single time I actually like an episode and I'm like proud of it, it never does well. And it's the ones that I'm like, they're okay. Like whatever kind of episodes we put together that end up actually catching the algorithm and doing really well. Did you like that episode, Halloween?
I liked it. I mean, I liked filming it for sure. Mm-hmm. It was really well edited by you. But it was just fun to film. It's a fun topic. Dia de los Muertos. It's something that's very, people think of Dia de los Muertos, obviously, Mexico, Dia de los Muertos, the Catrinas, and then Halloween. We get that question all the time. Do they celebrate Halloween in Mexico? And yes, they do, at least in Puerto Vallarta, and we showed it. And it's actually a really great time. So it was fun to film. So if you haven't checked it out and you are curious about that, definitely check it out. For whatever reason, the algorithm...
Share it with friends and family.
Doesn't like it.
Halloween here is a great time to come with kids, although it is still a little bit hot and humid in terms of like the weather leading up to obviously the beautiful weather that everyone comes for, which is like December, January, February. It's still a great time to come with kids. Halloween, there is nothing like it. Back home, people go trick-or-treating door to door. Probably similar thing in the United States, but here everyone heads to the Malecon and just regular people bring bags of candy, hand them out. People at restaurants throw them.
People from the cars are throwing them on the sidewalk to people. Everyone
is dressed up, kids, newborns, adults. So
dogs.
It's really a great thing to be a part of. It gets absolutely bananas, as I mentioned 100 times in the video, because it is really overwhelming the amount of people that go there. People are taking pictures with each other. It's like really, really fun, really good vibes. And of course, Dia de los Muertos is a popular time for people to come here because it is such an important cultural celebration. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on, a lot of activities, leading up to the actual Dia de los Muertos, the 2nd of November. Mm-hmm. But just beautiful, beautiful decorations. It is really like the movie Coco. If you guys haven't watched it, it looks like that. The celebrations are similar. So it's definitely a movie that we have on repeat during that time of year.
And the parade is really nice to see too. If you're not familiar with the celebration, just coming out and seeing everyone painted, like with their face painted, and the Catrinas all along the Malecon. Mm-hmm. It's really nice to come out and, see everyone getting together and celebrating. And yes, it is still, I guess, warm, especially if you're coming from a colder place, but it's not as hot as, let's say, August, September. Mm-hmm. Bassi was wearing his long jeans. That's, when it starts to cool off, he grabs them right away. So just to give you an idea, it's not super, super humid and hot.
And another episode to touch on that's still trending like crazy is the episode, Why is Everyone Leaving PV? So in that episode, we talked about why people do leave PV. We often talk about why people come here, and I think we kind of promote it just by living our lives here. Like a lot of people message us wanting to move here, but the reality is, being foreigners in a country, you'll meet people and you'll meet families and you'll get close to people that do end up leaving. So we wanted to touch on that specifically in that episode. And we're always just talking about our experience here. So whenever you're watching something, MLD is not data driven. We're driven by personal experiences and things that matter to us. Mm-hmm. So we get comments every now and then like, where are the facts? And that's not statistically like what's going on. Of course, like for sure more people are moving here than leaving here. I'd assume. I don't actually know that for sure, but we were just really wanting to make a point that people do leave here and the reasons why they do. Since putting out that episode, we've known more families, leaving. Of course, some do come here as well and message us.
People are still coming here.
Yeah.
We were saying, why are people leaving? Why do people leave? It's not to say that people have stopped coming and the city's just empty. No, people are still coming. Mm-hmm. You can still come as well. It's just there are people that leave, and why? Like, what would cause it to not work out, or make someone think, hey, you know what, this isn't for me, or maybe I want to try this city, this other country, or whatever. And that's what we were really talking about, because it's not for everyone, mm-hmm. or some things happen, or they can't make it work out for whatever reason. And that's what we wanted to talk about, because we get that indirect question, I think, a lot of like, how do you find work? How do you make it work out? How do you find this and that? And juggle, seeing family back home and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that was really the point of that video. Not to make any suggestion that people are no longer interested in Vallarta or shouldn't be.
And there was not a single reason in that video that was specifically, I'd say, PV related, besides maybe the weather being too humid for people in the summertime. But no one comes here that we've met that don't like it here or don't like the vibes here. That was never a motivator for someone leaving that we've talked to. For sure there are people that just don't like PV. It's a highly touristic area, which could draw some people off. Cost of living is a little bit higher here than maybe other parts of Mexico. Obviously the weather being very humid in the summer, but for the most part, no one has made their decision to leave primarily on those things. It's always been related to something else or another factor. So again, MLD is not data driven. We always just, and we mentioned it in that video, we are basing everything, every single video on our experience. We're not going to get political about Mexican politics and stuff like that. We're just kind of letting you guys know, how we live here and our experiences as we experience them.
It's one perspective to consider if you're interested. Which, you're watching this, so I guess you're interested.
So next topic, should we get into politics? Just kidding. But just to loosely touch on politics, obviously there was the big United States election political event that happened. And obviously there are people crying. There are people very happy. But what we've noticed here more so, and it's not even about this specific elections, it's more about politics in general. A lot of people come here and they kind of assume that everyone is politically aligned with each other. They'll just, go straight into politics when they meet someone. And it's not really the vibe here that we get from people that do live here year round. Like typically people connect here on a more positive note, discussing more positive things that are going on. A lot of people that come here short term or come here for the winter right away, I call it their negative news brain or negative propaganda brain. We've noticed that a lot of people back home, they connect on negative stuff that's going on, negative stuff that's in mainstream propaganda, sports or bad weather or your sports team losing rather. And it's not really a thing here. And a lot of people come here and they assume that everyone is also in that negative mind space. And it's such a like turn off. We know, someone that is of a darker complexion, and right away when people see him, they go right into a, liberal Democrat kind of negative speech about, guns or racism about things. And he's completely like, hey, he's actually a conservative. We're not going to name his name, but shout out to you. You know who you are. I know you're watching. People come here and assume everyone wants to talk politics and what's going on and assumes that everyone is politically aligned. But you saw, with the election in the States that not everyone is politically aligned anymore. So it's just something to touch on, something interesting going on. A lot of people crying, complaining online. I'd say a lot of you would be surprised, to know which way we align politically. Follow us on Instagram if you want to find out.
I think a challenge would be, when you're meeting someone is to just kind of stick on the positive, like what makes you happy and what do you like, and try to find people that are on that same vibe with you, right? Instead of being like, what do you hate? Like, do we hate the same things? No, like try to go
or assume that you hate the same things. Yes, is even worse
based
than,
on stereotypes, which is weird. But just, find out, like get to know somebody, actually have a conversation. And what do you like? What makes you happy? What are you interested in? And find the positives.
What brings you to this beautiful paradise that we always talk about, that everyone comes here and is happy and, has a boost of energy because it's so beautiful, and you get the ocean and the palm trees and the beautiful weather and the beautiful culture.
The beautiful tacos.
But yeah, we always overhear people, having these all sorts of negative conversations, including people that do live here year round, and they're all upset about politics back home. It's like, hey, you left that and you're here and you're still complaining. Like, just be positive and move forward with your life here if that's what you want. I also read an interesting quote, and I kind of want to segue this into a hot Facebook topic debate: expats versus immigrants. So forever, every time someone writes expat on a Facebook group, they get attacked. You're not an expat, you're an immigrant, which we both don't agree with. Yeah. People are expats. Some people are immigrants. It depends what you're here for. We consider ourselves immigrants, and we're very proud of that. We wouldn't call each other expats, but there's no issue with expats calling themselves expats.
If they are expats, especially.
I consider most snowbirds coming here expats and not immigrants. You could see that, one, by them being here for a limited amount of time. Two, a lot of them not wanting to integrate with the culture. Which is, we see a lot, which we don't agree with at all. But just touching on what we talked about, 3 people coming here with a certain mindset, a negative mindset. So I read this quote somewhere, and I don't remember where it was. It was probably under one of the comments, and it says, immigrants leave their baggage behind, and expats take it with them. And we see that very often here with what we just talked about, expats coming in with their negative news mindset. So many encounters leading into high season at Costco that we've seen, like negative people getting into arguments. It's always these expats that are a part of it. So it's just weird that a lot of the negative mindset, negative energy does come from that group coming in for a shorter amount of time. Whereas people that are truly immigrants here, we've kind of adapted to the culture here, the positive mindset. Of course, there are still negative things that happen here and there, but It's just a really interesting quote. Like, do you consider yourself an expat or an immigrant? And that quote tied in perfectly with what I was thinking, the meanings behind those two words were.
And at the end of the day, tomato, tomato, like, what does it matter if someone calls themselves an expat incorrectly? I mean,
if you're the person that's correcting someone on a Facebook group, go outside, touch grass, get some sun, go to the beach, swim in the ocean. You need some positivity in your life. Like, I don't get the people who go out of their way to call an expat an immigrant or vice versa. Move on to something else.
Because unless you know them, you don't really know.
Yeah.
And also, like, there's nothing wrong with either one of those. Like, you can be an expat and be fine. I've been an expat in a country where I was on their work visa. Now we're here, hopefully permanently. So we're immigrants. I don't see anything wrong with the word immigrant. I don't know why there's a suggestion that there is.
And I get that in the United States, maybe like, oh, if you're an immigrant, you're looked down upon. I don't agree with that at all. I think that it's those types of comments that are keeping that sort of negative connotation going. We're really proud to be immigrants here in Mexico. But I think it's, those people that are negatively attacking other people that are keeping that word as like they're trying to make it positive, but they're doing the opposite, because honestly, it makes me want to call everyone expats because it's so frustrating. Just move on.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. You should be proud to be an immigrant if you are an immigrant. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It takes a lot of bravery to leave your country and go somewhere else. So I don't know why anyone ever makes that a bad word, because it shouldn't be. But yeah, moving on.
We've recently taken our first overnight trip since moving to PV. Obviously, we drove down here from Toronto, so we stayed overnight in Saltillo, San Luis Potosi, Guadalajara. But since being here in PV, so for the better part of 2 years, we've taken our first overnight trip to Pueblo Mágico, Mascota. We did film the trip. I'm very excited to put that together for you guys and show you, what we got up to over there. Small pueblo, Mascota. It's a small town, beautiful. We had a great time there.
Yeah, great time.
We got to see, different things, kind of an older type of pueblo, smaller different architecture, town. Very clean.
Very quiet. Very cool. Like, that was the one thing. It's starting to cool off in PV. As you can tell, I'm wearing pants. My hair is down. But there, it was like significantly cooler. We could actually see in our car, we have like a thermometer, whatever. We could see the temperature dropping as we went up into the mountains. We could smell pine. The air was so clean and clear. So it's definitely a place that we'd visit in the summer, especially to escape the insane humidity of PV, which a lot of people do. And yeah, it was just like a nice small town. Like, you could walk the whole town in the day, kind of thing.
And go for like really quick hikes to the Mirador, which we did. There's ruins there. There's a volcano, Molcajete, that we didn't get to go to, unfortunately, but next time we definitely want to check out. And on the way to Mascota, there's another Pueblo Mágico, San Sebastián del Oeste.
Del Oeste is before then, which is also a very popular destination. And then a little bit further than Mascota, there is a few other Pueblo Mágicos. I think it's Navidad, and the other one is Yerba Buena. So there's a lot to check out if you're like just want to see like different towns, Pueblo Mágicos. There's a lot of hiking trails, camping / cabins that you can go do if you have the stuff to go camping, but also rent cabins, a lake.
San Sebastián is only 1 hour away, so very doable even for a day trip. I would definitely suggest that if you are coming, for a short amount of time and you're looking for day trips to go there. Mascota, 2 hours away, also worth it. Go there, stock up on honey. We bought one big jug of honey. We wish we would have gotten more.
So a lot of the honey you buy here in the markets comes from Mascota. So you're paying a little bit more because obviously they brought it, and while you're there, you might as well pick some up.
Some raicilla.
Some raicilla. It is on the Ruta de Raicilla, so a lot of raicilla there, mezcal. But yeah, it was really nice. The honey was delicious.
Some of the best honey, or maybe the best honey.
So fresh. There was bees wings in there.
Bees wings.
Sorry,
more
vegan.
Protein. Yeah. Really, really good honey. Yeah. What was your favorite part or your takeaway of that trip?
So I have a few. And we didn't even get to go to the museum. There's a museum there, like a pre-Columbian museum, which we didn't get to check out either, which I'd like to. But we did go to see the ruins of this unfinished church. I can't remember the name right now. But I had no idea that there was this whole thing, like the Cristeros War against the Cristeros, where there was like, I guess, a war against the Christians in the country. And we learned that that's why the temple was never, or the church was never finished. Would have been a massive church. I'm like kind of surprised that this tiny little town would have this massive church. But it was interesting to learn about that part of the history, which I had no idea, Christian history and Mexican history. I looked more into it, but I won't bore anyone with that if you're not interested, but go look into it yourself. So there was that, and I really like the cool weather. I think that was a treat for me.
And we had an avocado tree on the Airbnb where we rented. So we had a big courtyard. So we got to pick a bunch of fresh avocado off the tree. And for me, like how clean it was really surprising. PV, unfortunately, isn't that clean. There is quite a bit of garbage everywhere on the beaches as well. A lot of
people, and a lot more people. Comes, some garbage on the ground. And, this is a small town. I guess, people obviously maybe less tourists, maybe less people. So there's less garbage. So it was nice to see. And I think here, because of the humidity, things you really need to maintain, like the outdoor, like you're outside of your house, like mold grows really easily and it can look a certain way. And there they didn't have that because it's drier.
Beautiful homes, nice gates. The paint on the homes were all still here. Everything just chips off because of the harsh weather.
And I don't know if I think that's probably part of being seaside and the humidity. And then on Mascota's side, it's obviously dry, but also Pueblo Mágico. So they have to maintain a certain look, I think. Yeah. But it was just really beautiful. And it's a change of pace, like not to like say anything bad about Vallarta. We love Vallarta, but it was just like a nice change.
Yeah.
Some of the best tortillas I've ever had. I don't know if you Mark was so happy.
Tortillas, yeah. So we had birria there, which we'll show you guys. The best tortillas we've ever had. They were like French crepes, basically. Like so good. And then I'm someone who really likes hot sauce, so I'm putting hot sauce on. I never taste it. And this hot sauce at this birria
You never
spot.
test it, you mean? Like you never pre-taste
yeah,
it?
like test it to taste, and I just put it on. And this one really tested me.
It didn't look. It looked just like a medium salsa that you would buy, like the Tostito brand or something like that. It didn't look like, ooh, that's gonna be hot. Yeah. And I thought it was just me because I just put a little. That birria was this guy was
spicy.
He was dying,
sweating like crazy. It was cool outside. I'm sweating, drenched, blowing my nose. I used like all the napkins to blow my nose in. Where are we off to next? What's the next place we're going to visit?
We're open to suggestions. I would like to see. So, okay, I want to go see Mascota again, but I want to do like a cabin style, just like go hiking and be more in nature than maybe take one evening in the town. But also San Sebastian. I'd like to do those other Pueblo Mágicos in the area that we mentioned. And I really want to go to Mexico City.
Yeah, Mexico City, Guadalajara. We want to go as well to San Sebastian, Colima, maybe a little upcoming Colima trip.
Maybe.
And obviously, we want to head down south to
Puerto Escondido.
Puerto Escondido.
We have a long list.
Yeah.
And we want to do this all in the next few weeks, so we'll see.
not the next few weeks, but we'll see. My parents will be coming back again for a couple months, so hopefully me and Kathleen can get out and do some exciting episodes.
And we always say that for 2 years, and we do one night out.
Yeah, one night out in a couple years.
And we're like, what do we do?
So we'll see. Maybe you'll get one date night episodes, or maybe you'll get many. Another topic, so we're trying to put together an episode about recommendation for short-term rentals. We've gotten this question asked a lot lately, like, where do I find short-term rentals, under a month or two? So we're putting together an episode on that and recommendations and what to expect as well. So if you have anything, drop them in the comments down below.
Do you mean when you say short-term rental recommendations, do you want people to give you their exact recommendations?
No, we want tips and tricks. And one of the biggest things to expect when you are renting any sort of place here is for it to have bugs of some sort. Yes. You're in a tropical climate, you're in Mexico, there will be ants, there will be spiders, there will be cucarachas every now and then.
We don't like them, but they're here.
People that live here do the best to, fumigate the properties and do those types of things and to keep them out. But I think it comes to a lot of people's surprise, and a lot of people that actually moved here, they message us like, there's cucarachas there's cockroaches in our place. Like, what do we do? It's a thing here, It doesn't mean you have an infestation. They come in from outside. You live around the jungle.
They fly in a lot of the times when your window's open, and people who are listening are probably like, what, they fly? Yes, they fly. People, the cockroaches in the tropics are bigger and they fly. Yeah. And then I don't know what happens to them when they get in the house. I don't know if it's because it's been fumigated at some point, but then they just die.
Yeah.
Most of the time you find them, they're on their back, they're dead. There's been one time where one was flying around here and
I wasn't home to lay the hammer down.
It's traumatic for me.
This is no different if you live in a 5,000 peso property or a multi-million-dollar home. You will get bugs inside. It doesn't really go with, how clean the place looks. It's just a reality of living here. So that's definitely something that we'll talk about a bit more in depth. Mm-hmm. And another thing is long-term rentals. So we're going to do a separate episode on that because the things to expect and how to go about finding long-term rentals is different than a short-term rental. So drop any recommendations that you have below in terms of, how to go about finding a place and what to expect, things that you guys have run into that are positive and negative, and what to ask about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another episode is we're going to be doing Airbnb versus a resort. So the pros and cons of both. There are multiple categories, but let us know down below. Do you guys prefer Airbnbs? Do you guys prefer going the resort type? Of course, there's different situations for both. Mm-hmm. In general, I'd say that we're more of the Airbnb type versus resorts. But we do like doing day passes at resort just to kind of switch things up.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to have the all-inclusive option.
Right? Yeah, every now and then.
Especially with kids.
Yeah, with kids, definitely fun. But I'd say, even if we were coming to PV for a week, I'd probably want to be off the resort more than on the resort. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because we like to explore. We like going on hikes. We like going to different beaches. We like different restaurants and taquerias. I want to eat all the salsas that are offered around town. So I'd say for us, just personally, we're definitely more the Airbnb type, but we'll get into that in another episode. Guys, if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. Again, this is a podcast, but we have very fun episodes. We have vlogs. We have educational stuff for you guys, cost of living episodes. So hit the subscribe button, give us a chance, comment down below if you want to have a conversation or if you want to have an argument.
No argument.
And buymeacoffee.com/morelivediaries if you want to buy us coffees. We use that money to do fun stuff and keep the lights on here at the MLD studio, aka our living room. And we thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you. And as always, this is our journey. More Live Diaries. Peace.